The Philadelphia Eagles offense is easily set to be one of the best in the NFL next year, and a huge part of that is going to be newly acquired running back DAndre Swift. Now, he's definitely received a lot of attention this offseason, but just very recently, we got some big news regarding Swift and how he has the potential to transform the Eagles' already lethal offense, an offense that has been getting a lot of attention in recent days for various reasons. So we're going to talk all about that in this video today, so let's not waste any time and get straight into it. The Philadelphia Eagles offense was already among the best in the NFL last season, with the group finishing towards the top of the league in many statistical categories and making history in the process, as the group in 2022 finished 3rd in yards per game, 3rd in points per game, 5th in rushing yards per game, and 9th in passing yards per game. And in addition to this, the group made history, scoring the most points in a single season in Eagles history with 477. But arguably still, the most impressive thing that the Eagles offense did all year was when they broke a 99-year-old NFL record, that record being for the most rushing touchdowns in a single season, postseason included. That record was previously held by the 1924 Frankfurt Yellow Jackets, who scored 38 touchdowns on the season, and the 2022 Eagles broke that long-standing record, scoring 42 rushing touchdowns on the year. And there are multiple reasons that the Eagles were able to set that record, as not only do the Eagles have the best offensive line in the league, which is filled with athletic guys that can get out into space in front of ball carriers and just create great run lanes for them, but they also have one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks, if not the best dual-threat quarterback in the NFL, in Jalen Hurts, who's so extremely effective at using his legs. And the Eagles' RPO offense that they run with Hurts is extremely hard for defenses to react to, because there's just so much that they have to account for, and oftentimes they just can't stop it all. And this allowed for the running backs to have a lot of success as well, most notably Miles Sanders, who was the Eagles' leading rusher in 2022, who scored 11 touchdowns on the season, 13 with the playoffs included. But now obviously Sanders is gone, and the Eagles need someone to replace his production, which is why they brought in two guys this offseason, Rashad Penny, who we just talked about in our previous video, and of course probably the more exciting name, DAndre Swift. And these two guys together should easily be able to replace the production that Miles Sanders gave you on the ground, but one of them, that being Swift, could potentially add a whole new element to this Eagles offense, potentially transforming what is already one of the better groups in the league into an even better version of itself. And that's because Swift brings a skill set that no Eagles running back has really shown off since Miles Sanders in 2019, and that is an elite receiving ability out of the backfield. Now, DeAndre certainly put that on display in Detroit, as since 2020, Swift has had 156 catches, which is an average of 52 catches per season, and 1,198 receiving yards, which is 5th among running backs during that span. And now with the Eagles, he will look to continue his success that he has had catching passes out of the backfield. But to do that, the Eagles might have to completely shift their offensive strategy. As like I said, the Eagles are a team that hasn't really used their running backs heavily in the passing game since 2019 with Miles Sanders. And last year was a clear example of this, and it had Lions writer of Fansided Brad Berriman questioning how successful Swift would be this year, as he wrote an article recently titled "Eagles Don't Appear Set to Use DeAndre Swift in Most Optimal Way," where he said, quote, "There's one thing running quarterbacks like Hurts don't tend to do very much: throw short passes to running backs. Rather than take those kind of checkdowns at the end of a read progression, they'll take off and run if there's room to do so." Alas, courtesy of Fantasy Pros for the precise ranking, the Eagles had the lowest target share to running backs last season at 12.1%, and naturally, they had the lowest number of total targets to running backs last year, 61. If not for Hurts missing a couple games, those numbers would have been a notch lower. Hurts threw to running backs on 11.5% of his attempts in 2022, 29th out of 30 quarterbacks with at least 300 dropbacks. Now, these are definitely some good points, and it's fair to question whether the Eagles will be able to get the most out of Swift because of these facts, but really, if you've paid attention to anything that has been said or reported about Swift all offseason since the Eagles landed him, then it seems like the exact opposite of that is true, as it looks like the Eagles are set to use Swift a ton in the receiving game this upcoming season, and again, there are multiple things to support this. Number one being a report that came out around a month ago from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, where he said that the Eagles expect Jalen Hurts to take another major jump forward in his game to become even more of an elite pocket passer, and he cited DeAndre Swift and his receiving ability out of the backfield as a potential big reason for that, as he said, quote, "He's a 50 catch a year guy really in his first 3 years in Detroit, where Philly's running backs only had 23 catches or less. They didn't have a guy with a higher number than that, so they feel like they can get him going in the passing game to give even more easy completions for Hurts." And if that doesn't give you enough confidence that the Eagles are planning to use Swift heavily in the receiving game, then just listen to what Eagles head coach Nick Sirianni said here in his press conference at OTAs.
You know, backs get a little bit more chance to shine when the pads come on, right? Now they're still out there doing some things, and Kenny and DeAndre have done a really nice job in the receiving area, and so has Boston. They all have, but really Kenny and DeAndre have done a nice job there.
But wait, there's still more, as we have another recent report that suggests Swift will be used maybe even more heavily in the passing game than we initially thought, as James Palmer of ESPN recently said that the Eagles are really excited about what they have in Swift in terms of his receiving ability, and they could potentially use him in that role even more than the Lions did. Now, it's not like the Lions didn't utilize him correctly, as like I said, he's averaged over 50 catches per year since he's been in the league, so if the Eagles are able to get that number up to 60 or maybe even 70 catches next season, that would just be insane. Not just because his individual receiving statistics would most likely be the best of his career, but because it would just make the Eagles offense so much more scary. I mean, like I said, the Eagles have one of the most unstoppable offenses in the league, and now if you add another element for defenses to account for, it's just going to make it so much more challenging for defenses to slow this offense down. And let's not forget that Swift is also a very good runner of the football as well. It's not like he's incapable of doing that. I mean, all of this is just getting me more and more excited about DAndre Swift, and I really think that he can have a career year this year with the Eagles as long as he stays healthy. But what kind of numbers do you think Swift will put up? Let me know your opinions down in the comments. Now, Swift, of course, isn't the only reason that the Eagles offense is going to be scary next year, and he's also not the only guy making headlines in recent days, so we're about to get into all that. But real quick here, I just want to say, if you are enjoying this video and want to see others like it coming in the future, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Around 80% of the people that watch these videos are not subscribed. If you're one of those people, you've been watching the videos consistently, you're enjoying them, and you love the Philadelphia Eagles, make sure you fix that right now and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future uploads. I think that's a win-win situation for the both of us. And now with that being said, let's get back into the video. So as I said, the Eagles clearly expect DAndre Swift to add a whole new element to the receiving game, but the guys that were already here will obviously also be a huge part of that, and that includes Devonta Smith, who apparently has been impressing all offseason, and a lot of people think that he can be even better this year and beyond than he was in 2022, and it's not like he wasn't already incredibly impressive in 2022, so that belief that he's only going to continue to get better from here surely makes him a building block for the Philadelphia Eagles' future, and Alex Ballantyne of Bleacher Report seems to agree with that, as he recently wrote an article titled "Every NFL Team's Most Promising Building Block Entering 2023," and he put Devonta Smith as the selection for the Eagles, as he said, quote, "There was a sentiment out there that the Eagles trading for A.J. Brown last offseason might have been a sign they weren't all that impressed with Devonta Smith's rookie year. That thought was quickly erased when Brown and Smith took the field together to form a dynamic duo. Smith actually saw more targets in his second season with Brown involved in the offense, catching 95 of his 136 targets for 1,196 yards and 7 touchdowns. I mean, there's no doubt that it was impressive how much Smith was able to improve with a guy of Brown's caliber being added to the offense, setting a record for most catches in a single season by an Eagles wide receiver, and making some incredibly impressive plays that showed off his elite route running, athletic ability, strong hands, and body control. And it's for all these reasons that Devonta Smith should be considered a building block for the Eagles' future, and he should only continue to improve next year given that he's been working this offseason. And speaking of working in the offseason, we gotta mention the other part of the Eagles receiver duo that was mentioned in that article in A.J. Brown, as he's apparently been putting in work himself this offseason, specifically on getting faster and adding more speed, as there was recently a video of him that came out where he ran 22 miles per hour in under 20 yards, which is obviously extremely impressive. And the thing is, A.J. Brown isn't really known as a burner. Sure, he has always had speed, but he's more known for his physicality, jump ball ability, and run after the catch. So if he's able to get even faster and be one of those guys with breakaway speed after he just had a season with 88 catches and 1,496 yards, which was good for the Eagles' record for the most receiving yards in a single season, by the way, and 11 touchdowns, that's going to make the Eagles' offense that much more terrifying. And together, Brown and Smith don't just form one of the best receiver duos in the entire league, but also just one of the best duos in general in the entire NFL. And Jared Dubin of CBS Sports seems to agree, as he recently ranked Brown and Smith as tied for the 5th best duo in the NFL in his recent list ranking the top 10 NFL duos. And they were tied with yet another duo of Eagles offensive players in Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson, aka the Eagles' 2 best linemen who are both future Hall of Famers. Now, the article reads, quote, "So yeah, I cheated with this one, but we're going with a duo of duos that make the Philadelphia offense so tough to deal with. The protection in the passing game provided by Kelce and Johnson-led offensive line, plus the way they're able to clear lanes in the running game, helped take Jalen Hurts' game to new heights. The acquisition of Brown to play across from Smith gave Hurts two of the league's elite coverage beaters, both of whom can take the top off the defense, and one of whom who was one of the most imposing physical mismatches in the NFL. The way these duos work in synergy to elevate their quarterback, who already has a rare skill set of his own, is what makes the Eagles such a unique challenge for opposing defenses." So yeah, you heard it there. Not only do all these guys have tremendous skill sets that help them pile up individual numbers and accolades, but the way these duos end up working together to help elevate the play of Jalen Hurts is what makes them so dangerous, because obviously the most important position on any football team is the quarterback position, and the Eagles offense performs at its best when Jalen is at his best, and obviously having talent around him helps him reach that level. But that's certainly not to discredit Jalen at all, because he has improved tremendously as a player in his mechanics, decision-making, accuracy, and ability to read a defense, and so much more in his short career so far with the Eagles. And as I said before, the Eagles don't expect him to stop improving anytime soon, which is yet another reason why this offense can be so scary. And yet, there's still more, as we can't forget about tight end Dallas Goedert, who's one of the best tight ends in the entire NFL. And Tyler Sullivan of CBS Sports seems to think so as well, as he recently ranked the top 10 tight ends in football, and Goedert ranked 4th on that list, and his reasoning was that, quote, "Once the Eagles gave Goedert the keys to the castle as the primary tight end, he became one of the more prolific players in the league. Even with the Eagles ramping up their wide receiver room, Goedert has continued to be an impactful player within Philadelphia's offense and caught 79.7% of his targets last season, a career high. That number increased to 88.9% in the playoffs en route to a Super Bowl appearance. Eagles quarterbacks also had a 123.6 passer rating when targeting Goedert in the 12 games he suited up for in the regular season. That mark is better than both Travis Kelce, 117.2, and Mark Andrews, 90.8. Goedert was also the second-ranked tight end in the NFL last season according to Football Outsiders' DYAR metric, which gives the value of their performance on plays where they caught the ball. He's an elite weapon in every sense of the word, and arguably still a bit underrated. I mean, Goedert has certainly been a safety blanket for Hurts and has always been extremely reliable when on the field, and now he may be primed for the best year of his career, as obviously he hasn't had a full season where he's been the sole option at tight end and remained healthy the whole year. 2023 could finally be that year for him, and if it is, that just makes the Eagles offense even more terrifying. And then lastly, we must mention that the Eagles have an offensive-minded head coach, and one that was ranked the number 8 coach in the league by Trevor Sikkema of PFF in Nick Sirianni. Now honestly, I think this is a bit low considering just how much winning Sirianni has done in his first 2 seasons as the Eagles head coach, and the fact that he's overachieved in both seasons. But his role in the Eagles offense can't be understated at all, as even though he's not the one calling the plays, he surely has had a huge hand in creating the offense and the offensive game plans and strategies week in and week out, and of course, he's had a lot of success in doing that. So really, when you take a step back and look at it, the Eagles offense looks as if it's poised to be even better in 2023 than it was in 2022, largely because of DAndre Swift, but also because a lot of these other guys that the Eagles have on that side of the ball, and if they are, then opposing defenses should be worried, because I don't know how they're going to hope to stop this unit if they reach their full potential, but the question is, will they? Well, I guess we're going to find out, so let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Just how good can the Eagles offense be in the 2023-24 NFL season? I'd love to hear your guys' opinions on that. And if you did enjoy this video and want to see others like it, first make sure you drop a like on the video to show support, and then subscribe and turn on notifications so again, you don't miss any videos like this coming in the future. And if you want to watch this video talking about how Reed Blankenship could potentially be the Eagles X Factor, Rashad Penny, and other Eagles news, you can go watch this right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.